ahead and take it away for us?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks everyone for joining. Happy when Thursday. Happy Thursday. All right. Thank you again for allowing me to moderate. I'm super excited. The book was an amazing read. I'm so happy I had the opportunity to actually like sit down, think through it, and read through it. So thank you for the opportunity. So today I have the amazing pleasure to introduce DeWanda Ricks. So DeWanda has 20 years of service with AT&T through HR and operations. DeWanda Ricks is a results focused leader who delivers on coaching, development, solutions that help the company harness the full power of their most valuable asset, which is their people, right? Which is amazing. As the COO of the network, since 2022, she is dedicated to creating an inclusive culture that promotes growth and by empowering the employees to bring their most powerful and most authentic self to work. DeWanda Ricks is a trailblazer with a heart full of gold. Yes, I know this personally. Um, as shows her passion and love for the youth whenever possible, knowing that there is a great need for positive influence in the community. DeWanda's personal mission is to help develop the hearts and minds of school-age students by simply volunteering her time and being an advocate for inspiring their futures. This multi-award winner has received such prestigious awards as the President Volunteer Service Award every year since 2011. Huge congrats. She's also won the Community Extraordinary Award in 2012 and earned the Community Transformer Award in 2017 and the Think Tank Award in 2018. In 2020, DeWanda won the Women of Color STEM Award. DeWanda Ricks is a proud alum of Wayne State University, where she earned her bachelor's degree in accounting, as well as the University of Phoenix, where she earned her master's degree in human resources. So I welcome DeWanda Ricks, and I'm super excited to be able to moderate with you today.
Thank you. I am super excited to be here. And normally I'm on the other side, right? So I'm excited to have this dialogue, this open conversation, and we're definitely going to engage everyone on the call. So y'all get ready.
Yes, yes, that's what we definitely want here. So make sure that you ask questions in chat. And I believe, Joyce, we're going to have some time for question and answering at the end,
Yes, we
correct?
will.
Awesome. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get started. We are all very familiar with Michelle Obama, a huge like advocate, like amazing person, right? So we'll start with this question. Michelle Obama began the novel by thanking her parents for their influence and acknowledging she is grateful for them igniting her light. So, DeWanda, who has ignited your light and how did their influence shape your values and your life decisions?
I would have to say it would be my parents as well. I jokingly tell my children whenever we talk about growing up, I said I grew up poor, but I didn't know I was poor because my parents always made sure we had something to eat. We always had clothes. We always had just the standard necessity of what we needed. But entangled in that was fun, family, time well spent. And so with us spending time with each other, and it wasn't just myself and my siblings, but it was my parents and their siblings and their kids. So it was my cousins, were my first best friends. And with all of us together, I think we, looking back, we all pulled our resources. And so we didn't know that we were living in poverty because of just the family and fun that we had. Everything was a teachable moment. Everything was a resource that we needed. It was educational, even to my pops, who is my grandfather, my mom's dad. He went to the Marines. He also was a boxer. He was
Yeah.
a professional boxer. His hands were lethal weapons, but he taught us the value of conversation. Not
Mhm.
everything had to end in a fight. because he was such a strong man, you really looked at that thinking, just because I don't want to fight, it doesn't make me weak. It just means I don't want to hurt you.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
what I learned from my pops.
I love that. I love that, right? So when we think about, so a few things that I heard there was, well, you think about your values, you think about fun, you think about family orientation, you think about effective communication, and not hurting people, right? So when you think about those things, right, those things were instilled in you at a very young age. And I think another thing that I heard in there was that it meant when you have good people that are surrounding you, when you have a good foundation, that the financial resources, either they come along with it or they really don't matter, right? Because you have so like a lot of other things that really that create your peace and create your happiness. So I ask you with that, how have you implemented some of those values in like your current day? Like within, if you have a family or within your friend circle, what are some how have you transferred some of those values that you learned at home to your current day now?
I think one of the things that sticks out the most is, you hear people say, I'm chasing a bag, I'm chasing a bag. But I think if you really do what your passion is, what your heart's desire is, the bag will chase you. So you don't have to go after the bag. And I think that's what I learned from my family. When we spent time together, when we were having fun, when we were creating memories and moments, we weren't concerned about money. I mean, my
Mhm,
parents probably were,
mhm,
right? But
mhm,
they weren't stressed over it. It wasn't, everything that they talked about. We did not see that as children. And that's what I try to instill raising my family.
mhm,
So it's always, this is what your passion is, follow your passion. Right?
mhm,
This is what your heart's desire is. This is what I'm good at doing. And
mhm,
so it became my purpose.
mhm,
And as I'm working in my purpose, which is my
mhm,
passion,
mhm, mhm,
provision just came right along with it.
mhm. Nice. I love that. Right. So passion, work within your passion develops your purpose. And for you being in service delivery, helping people really allowing your customers or helping your customers, helping us deliver those end-to-end products for our customers, it all aligns and becomes one full circle for you. So that's amazing. And definitely something that we will hope to all model. All right. So let's transition to our next question. So, and this storyline was pretty entertaining for me. But when we to intentionally start his day with kindness towards himself, Michelle's friend's husband Ron says hello to himself every morning. So, how do you intentionally show kindness to yourself? What are some of your morning best practices, self care activities? Like, how do you show kindness to yourself?
I think it started during COVID. So I would say in 2020, right? We were isolated and we were born and created to be around other people. Yes, we will have our moments where we need our me time, but I think for the most part, we definitely need that interaction with other people. And I um, felt really reclused and needed to talk to people. I needed to interact with people because that's where I gathered my strength from, right? And it's funny because some people say the more they pour out, the empty they are, but I was being filled by pouring into other people. And during COVID, I wasn't able to do that in person. Yeah, Zoom came, right? But um I wasn't able to do that. And I drew from other people. I am a person that likes hugs, and we couldn't
Mhm,
do that. And so I had to find a way to really encourage myself is I think the bottom line of the gist of what I'm trying to say. And so I, like Ron, would get in front of the mirror and talk to myself. But I also took it a step further. You buy those pens that you can write on the
mhm.
mirror. I have a ton
Yeah.
of those. And I write on my bathroom mirror, on my bedroom. mirror, and I write, I am
Mhm.
wonderful.
Mhm.
I am enough. I am a
Mhm.
child of God.
Mhm.
I am prosperous. Like whatever I feel like the enemy is trying to attack me in, I write the
Mhm.
reverse on my mirror. And so I'm reading that every time I'm going into the bathroom, every time I'm into my bedroom. And I do it when I wake up, throughout the day, when I go to bed. So
Mhm.
that was how I got through COVID.
Mhm. I love that. The self affirmations. Self affirmations are super important as, when we get into challenging moments, just rethinking. Do you have any, and this is kind of like a sideline, do you have any like fun hobbies or activities that you engage on a day to day or weekend or anything?
I used to podcast, and I say
Okay.
used to because I haven't done it in a while, but I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely love doing it.
Okay.
Absolutely love it. And my podcasts are really where I just find interesting people and I ask them
Okay.
to come on and
Okay.
we talk about them. And so it's not even about me or me giving affirmations or positive words. It's about other people's stories and how their stories can help other people. So
Mm-hmm.
when as I'm talking to people and they're telling me their story, I'm like, oh my God, you can help so many other people with your story. And so to relate that to the book, it's the light that they carry, right? It was something that they had to go through, that they came through on
Mm-hmm.
the other side. And the story, they don't look like what they went through. And so
Mm-hmm.
now they can take their experience and share with other people to help other people get to that other side as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I need to pick that back up.
No, that's very powerful, very powerful. I love that. Good for you. All right, let's transition to the next one. So, Michelle Obama's father, Robinson's motto is you fall, you get up, but you carry on. So, can you share a few unique obstacles that you encountered in your life, either professionally or personally? How did you overcome these things? And can you kind of share your motto or your mantra in terms of regaining focus after like an obstacle may occur?
Sure. I think personally, the biggest obstacle that I overcame was um, having a child at a young age. I was grown, but I wasn't grown, right?
Mm.
I was 19, still living at home with my parents, and hadn't graduated from college. So the obstacle for me was, having the baby, who's now a grown man, married with children, with my grandbabies. He has two. But the
No.
obstacle was how do I recover from this? And I think what I remember most is I needed to finish school, right? And then it became a competition for me. I did graduate with my undergrad. And so now he's about to graduate from high school and go get his graduate or his undergrad. And I'm like, wait a minute, we both can't have, I gotta go get my master's degree. And so it became a challenge that I get my master's before he got his undergrad. And in 2007, I received
Mhm.
my master's and he got his undergrad. So I accomplished that. And now, he's talking about going back for his grad school, but it's like, how can I one up him? Right. But that obstacle, people came to me, family members, the older generation that, oh my God, you've ruined your life. What are you going to do now? And I did not and could not accept that. And so I'm so happy I did not listen to them. I continued on with my education. And again, it was something that my children saw that drove them as well to prosper. My daughter, who's 13 years younger than my son, but also, saw the work ethic, saw how much I love school. Because at that time, that I graduated, she was 7. And
Mhm.
so in kindergarten, she's walking around carrying his high school books. And when I would be studying, she would pull out and study.
Aw.
And she was able to graduate with an engineering degree from a HBCU in 4 years and come
Nice.
out and get a job in her field. So that was just phenomenal, that obstacle that I saw as it could have, my
Mhm.
choices could have led to a different outcome. And I'm glad
Mhm.
that I chose the decisions that I made.
I love that. So what I'm hearing is basically like something that could have, I wouldn't say end your life, but something that could have really damaged your life. You turned that around and made that something that, made that a part of who you were and who you are. And it really was something that was able to uplift your life. So something that could have taken you down and torn you down you were able to use that in reverse and uplift your life. So would you say that that's probably how you proceed with like moving forward? You learned that lesson at a very young age. Has that been like your mantra moving forward in terms of how you operate and how you overcome different obstacles and setbacks?
I do. I think I heard years ago, um, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I know that's probably a horrible saying, but at that time, it helped me get through what I needed to get through.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for my mantra is, if I don't like something, change it. And if I can't change it, I change the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I like that. I like that. Yep. That's a good one. I'm gonna have to note that one. Yeah. Because in reality, right, and to feed off of that, it's all about your perspective, right? I remember reading something a while ago and basically saying, like, your perspective is based on how you see the world. So, and your perspective is based on how you see the world, and someone else's perspective may be based on that. And you guys may have two different perspectives.
Yes.
So, definitely leading by, if I can't change it, then let me change how I think about it. And it may change the impact. So, I love that.
Definitely.
Awesome. Okay. So let's transition to fear. So fear was a big topic within the novel as well. So when we encounter fear, Michelle Obama mentions that like when she experiences fear, she asks herself, am I afraid because I'm actually like facing danger, or am I like staring newness in the face? So oftentimes when we think about new experiences, either professionally, personally, we kind of talk ourselves out of it, maybe. So, what do you think, or what have you determined to be your root cause of fear, and what is your approach to overcoming it?
For me, fear is like Michelle Obama said, right? There, I think, are those two kind of fears. One, I'm physically in danger, and the other is I'm perceiving a particular outcome of something that I'm about to do. And when it's that type of fear, you do have to have that conversation with yourself. Am I willing to live with the consequences? What are the consequences? And will this hurt me or will this help me? And also during COVID in 2001, I released a book called The
Mhm.
Wonderful Experience. And one of the chapters is called Do It Afraid.
Mhm.
And that, because for me, there were a lot of things that I could have done that I
Mhm.
did not do because I was afraid.
Mhm.
For example, I went to a concert, had an opportunity to meet the artist in the same room, and all I had to do was walk across the floor. But I'm like, everybody wants to meet him. I'm not going over there. So I didn't go, didn't get a chance to get a picture with them. So that was a missed opportunity on my
Mhm.
part. And I could live with that, right? But what would have happened had I just done it afraid?
Yeah.
So it's not like, anything would have happened to me. All the worst that would have happened is they would have said no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's what I think about, like, what's the worst that can happen? They say no, okay, I'm gonna still live. But if
Mhm,
they say yes, that will be something that I get to experience, right?
mhm.
So
I
do
love
it
that.
afraid.
Do it afraid, absolutely. So, to piggyback off of that comment, right? Have you experienced anything like within your career specifically that you either wish you would have done or that you took the leap of faith and actually like, asked the question or, became comfortable being uncomfortable and it worked out for you?
Yes, definitely. I think earlier in my career, there were so many things I was afraid of or didn't have the knowledge to do. For example, negotiating a salary,
Mhm,
or if there was an opportunity for promotion, would I take it? If I
mhm,
didn't hit 100% of the qualifications. Whereas now I will do that, right? And I could probably have 20% of the qualifications and I'm going to apply because I'm not going to tell myself no. That's one of the things that I've resolved. If it's something that I want to do, I'm not
mhm,
telling myself no. Someone else will have to say no, right? And that's really one of the things that I'm so passionate about in my mentoring with
mhm,
our students is to let them know that they have to be bold and they have to speak up for themselves because no one else would do it. And I think especially as I talk to my children, whereas I'm in this industry for 20 plus years, I don't want them to take 20 years to get
mhm,
to where I am. So always helping and speaking up about, again, back to doing it afraid. You
mhm,
don't stop yourself. You keep moving. Let
mhm,
someone else say yay or nay. But even a no is just, one man away from saying yes. So
mhm.
just keep
No,
going.
I love that. I love that. And as you bring up your children and your position currently, you lead a team of people, right? And then your mentor circle as well. When you think about like your leadership approach or your mentorship approach, in the book, it kind of mentions how Michelle like raised her two children differently. Like, with one child, she had like one parental guidance, with the other child, she had another parental guidance simply because they were different people. So, when you think about how you mentor people, how you advocate, how you lead your team of people, how you lead your group of people, how do you apply that in your leadership style and your leadership approach?
Yeah, so I'll start with my children. They're 13 years apart. One's a boy, one's a girl. The boy is the older child, my daughter is the youngest. And I think for my daughter, right, I'm older now, a little more
Mhm.
wiser, right? My son and I think kind of grew up together. So as I
Okay.
was learning who I even was,
Mhm.
he was like trying to figure out who this woman is that's evolving every other year on him, right?
Mhm.
So and now that he's raising his children, he's doing the same thing. Like, this is what my mom did, so this is how I want to do it. But it is based on where you are in life, your maturity level. And then I think having that maturity level and understanding that even your children, the people that work with you or for you, the people that you're mentoring, have different personalities. And so even in the way I speak to my son is different and how I speak to my daughter. The
Mhm.
approach that I take with one is different from the other because I know them and I know their personalities. So I know what will reach them in what tone
Mhm.
and what
Mhm.
won't. And if I say something in a certain tone with one, they're just going to close up. Whereas I need to say it in that tone with the other, or they won't hear me. So as you get to know your people and know their skill sets, know their temperaments, you know what to say and how to say it and when to say it is very vital as well.
Mhm. I love that. I love that. Awesome. All right. So, the kitchen table conversation. Now, I know that was one of the bigger takeaways for me. So Michelle describes her kitchen table, right? Her team of confidants, her friends, and this kitchen table really grew when she got in the White House, right? So one thing that she says is you will get further in life when you have a good friend, like a good group of friends surrounding you. But those strong friendships are the result of good intentions or strong intentions. So when you think about how you built your kitchen table, right, and building relationships and getting to know people and the time and effort that it takes to get to know people, what are some recommendations and best practices that you've utilized to build your kitchen table? One question. And then the second question, um, what are some of the attributes that you had to think through when building that kitchen table? And does it differ from professional and personal? So we'll start with the first one.
So in building my kitchen table, it's because I'm such a like I'll talk to anybody. My mom will
Mhm.
always say, "You've never met a stranger." And as a child, I was quick to say, "It's my friend." And my mom would be like, "That is not your friend. That's just
Mhm.
someone you just met." You know, so I
Yeah.
I had to learn the definition of, well, not even a definition of a friend, but I had to learn who were my friends.
Mhm.
So in doing that, my kitchen table got real small. And it was at first, my mom, my sister, my cousins. I didn't have real friends outside of family
Mhm.
until maybe high school. And even to this day, those friends from high school are my kitchen table. Now I have a
Mhm.
lot of associates and a lot of colleagues, but that's my kitchen table, and that's who I go to and I confide in, and we talk about everything, and there's no judgment. There's, oh my God, that was a stupid decision. There's none of that. It's just they're supportive, and they'll we'll get to, I can't believe you did that, but it's not it's not
Mhm.
right off the bat. They're not going to come for me and hurt my feelings, but they will be honest and truthful. And so that's how I built my kitchen table.
Nice, nice. I love that. I love that. 'Cause we all want people that we can rely on, that we can, that will listen to us, that'll be our sounding board. So
Hmm.
it's really nice, and it's really great to have that for you, like personally. I think that's something that we all take for granted, but we have to realize that everyone doesn't have it. So I'm happy that you have that support.
And at work, it's I think I have some confidants at
Mm.
work. Now, do I go to their house for dinner?
Yeah.
No. But we may do lunch together, and there is a professional bond that's there. Like, I
Mhm.
feel that they wouldn't violate my trust in any way. And so I do have that at work, but it is a little different than my kitchen table. I do
Mhm.
have a bond, some confidants at work, but when it comes to my entire life, they're separate.
Mhm.
If
No,
that
that's
makes sense.
understandable.
Yeah.
Yep. So to piggyback off the work or the professional relationships, right? So when, and one thing that I've heard from leadership is that, hey, you need to have your sponsors, you need to have your mentors, that you need to have those people that can advocate for you. So when you think about the different divisions, like, if you will, the people that will advocate for you, your sponsors, as well as your mentors, and then your friends, right? Your work friends. How do you determine what attributes should be in the sponsorship area? What attributes you need to find within a mentor? And how have you utilized those attributes to build that table of supporters?
So for me, I never knew who my sponsor, like I never went and said, "Will you be my sponsor?" I didn't
Mhm.
know I had a sponsor until it was revealed through, after a job transfer, or, after a connection award. And I'm like, "Oh wow, okay, that's awesome."
Yeah.
So I never knew that. Like, to me, sponsors, I think if I were to sponsor someone, I would have my list of criteria, but I don't know why the people who sponsored me sponsored
Mhm.
me.
Okay.
And then as far as mentors, now I have gone to folks and asked them to be mentors based on a certain skill set that I saw in them and
Mhm,
wanted really to just be around them and talk to them to
mhm,
have that skill transfer.
mhm,
And then coaches are really, again, people that I know have a skill set that I want. For example, I'm learning how to build these PowerPoint presentations and look real executive, crisp.
mhm.
And so when certain people send out something or I see a deck, I'm going to them like, hey, can I just get some time on your calendar and just want to walk through how you create decks and what your process is and we kind of go through that because my decks are they're getting better.
There we
Let's say that. They're getting
go.
better.
Yep, I'm the same way. I literally, if I see a deck that's presented in a town hall, I try to take as many pictures as possible so I can implement it and utilize it. So you're not the only one that's stealing decks. It's okay. I love that. I love that. Okay, so and then also within the book, right? So we're Michelle talked about how one of her assistants had a different upbringing and had a different experience with her father and her father going to jail and going to prison, and how she felt so different, right? So I know that you mentioned earlier in terms of your experience with having your child very young. Um, have you, what has been your experience in terms of feeling different within the workspace? And how have you become like who you are today and the leader that you are today and just like your overall presence within corporate America?
I think the biggest thing for me was to identify what I think is success and what
Mhm.
success looks like and not compare myself to what other people are doing.
Okay.
Because I took a different path. My road was different and who knows how they would have ended up had they walked in my shoes. So I've identified what success looks like to me and that's where my focus is. So I'm just trying to be better than the person I was yesterday.
Mm, I love that. I love that. And when you think about three priorities, like when you identify success or when you identify, like, how you live your life, what would those three priorities be in terms of success and how would you rank them?
For me, I think top on my list is having joy.
Mm,
um i'm I want to be happy, right? But like the lyrics say, Kurt Franklin, right, in order to be happy you got to have something happening. So I want an internal joy that no one can take away from me. I know I'll have disappointments, but at the end of the day I can sit down and still be thankful for everything that I have, thankful for my family, and just enjoy the joy of the Lord. That is priority number one. Priority number two is building memories and
mhm,
moments with my family, especially my grandsons.
mm.
And they call me Grandy. So family is priority right up there. And I want to say self care, and I probably you some people will probably have that as number one, but to me, self-care is so important. You can't help anyone else. If you're drowning, you can't save someone else from drowning because you're
Mhm,
drowning. And I remember I went through a really, really dark season, and my sister would get so mad at me because she would send me texts, but I couldn't comprehend what she was sending. Like I would see it, but I could not comprehend. We would try to make days to see each other, and the day would come and I'm like, oh, was that today? Like and I had to just step back and reflect,
mhm,
and I saw it in the chat, refresh.
mhm,
And once
mhm,
I did that, and I probably slept for a whole week, but I'm gonna tell you that rest made the
mhm,
world. And then I was keen again. I was back on it. I could remember
mhm,
things, But for the life of me, I don't know how I got to that point, but to really focus on my self-care snapped me out of that. And so we have to remember we have to do that. And I saw and now I can't remember. I surf TikTok all the time, but
Mhm.
this one
Same.
TikTok was you know, Daniel was in the den with the lions and went to sleep. And I think David did something and went to sleep. And he was like, so the moral of the story is when you feel
Sleep.
bad, go to sleep and God will take care of everything. I was like, that is so true.
That's what I do. I love that. I love that. And I think to your point, right, earlier, even now, we focused on self. There was so much going on during 2020 and during the pandemic, and we had such an emphasis and focus on self care. And it seems that what 4 years now from the pandemic, we've kind of lost that. So I think it's very important that we tap back into the self care element because it's so easy to lose sight of with
Mhm.
everything going on with within the office, within the company, maybe within our own family lives. We sometimes like lose sight of, hey, we have to take care of ourselves, and that might just be taking a nap, and that's okay. So yeah, I'm happy you shared that. All right, so last question before we transition into question and answers. Yeah, Q&A. um all right. So the infamous week when they go low, we go high, right? So Michelle mentioned this in the 2016 National Democratic Convention speech, and wanted to, this is all based on when the Obamas experienced a lot of criticism during their time in office. So, wanting to ask you, can you share a personal example for when you went high and someone else might have gone low? And did you get the expected outcome that you were looking for? And did this help you strengthen your overall direction?
So I could tell you when she first said this, I was like, when they go low, we go high, right? When I first heard it, I was like, when they go low, we go lower. But I'm like, okay, no, we're not doing that today.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it took me a minute. It took me a minute to get and professionally, I was in a position where I had a supervisor, and this was oh my God, maybe 2004, so maybe 2 years, 20 years ago.
Mhm.
I had this supervisor and she was getting ready to transfer to a new position. And she said, oh, before I go, I might as well, clean up all of this stuff, all this administrative stuff before I leave. And she said, one of them is I need to take you off your improvement plan. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I was on a performance improvement plan.
Oh,
I did
wow.
not know. But, I guess back then they didn't have to have conversations with the employees. Probably should have, but they
Mhm.
didn't. And so it was in a system, and she put me on this PIP in the system. And so before she left, she was taking me off this PIP. And I was furious, like, oh my God. And I didn't really understand the ramifications until a few months later. Of course, now we're having our end of the year discussion and pay treatment. And
Mhm.
because I was on a performance improvement plan, I did not get a bonus. I did not get a
Mhm.
pay increase. And so again, just really started with the company, didn't know anything, right? I was just happy to have a job. I'm just so thankful. And so the new manager comes in, and the new manager says, oh, well, yeah, I'm going to uphold this because, she says that you're too nice. And at that point, I don't know what triggered, what clicked, but the corporate DeWanda stood up. And we had a conversation, and by the end of that conversation, not only was all of that reversed, but they also went back years because I reported to her for 3 years. So they went back 3 years, and where I should have been getting like a 5% increase, she was giving me a 1 or 2. And so because they went back, they rectified all of those years. And
Wow.
so, yeah. So because I did not go low or
Yeah.
lower, I went
Right.
high. It was really the recompense came in, and it was because corporate DeWanda stood up and not Daquisha from the hood.
Yeah, I can see how that can be beneficial. Yeah. Wow. And the very interesting thing is, one, I'm very happy that that happened for you, because I think that we see how things work out in our favor. I truly believe that when people make decisions for their lives by being just with degrading other people and being down and nasty to other people, you don't have to make that same decision, right? You take the higher road, and you will see how everything will come into full circle, and how they will get their just due, and you'll be able to boost yourself up. In addition to that, it's very interesting. I was just sharing with one of my peers. We were we were outside eating lunch at the exchange, and this random, very nice guy walked up to us, and he was like, "Do you want a bottle of water?" We had water cups, and he was like, "You shouldn't be drinking out of water cups." And he bought me and my peer bottles of water. And we're like, that is so nice. People are not nice anymore like that. So it's very
Mhm.
interesting that she criticized you for being nice, because niceness should not be criticized. It's a good thing. So,
It had nothing to do with performance numbers, which I
nothing.
was
And
hitting every target. So,
yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that story with us. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us, as well as just being, purely candid and transparent with your background and how you've grown throughout the years. So we appreciate it. I will now open the floor. I think we have about 18 minutes, so I'll now open the floor for question and answers. Please feel free to either drop your question in the chat and I can read it out loud, or jump off of mute. We'll love to engage.
If you can't jump off of mute, raise your hand and I will unmute you.
All right, it looks like we have one from Nicole.
Hello, everyone, and happy, thankfully, trusting, and triumphant Thursday.
I
Um,
it.
Prayerfully, you all can hear me okay. The last statement, DeWanda, just kind of hit home for me. That's my present, where um, I'm in the process of overcoming and understanding and identifying that there are certain challenges and opportunities that we face to go high more so than others. In those instances where you were in the position to where, like, being nice, one of the comments I had received was, um, I would hire you, but I'm concerned you might have issues with firing folks, or with dealing with, surplusing. And until I shared with them that I had my own businesses and I had to address those types of, situations and scenarios. And one thing that I've learned is that a lot of times people only know you at the capacity for which they met you.
Mhm.
So they will never be able to fully encompass what you do, what your experiences, your skill sets. So in that particular instance, here comes my question. In that particular instance, what did you find was the best way for you to advocate for yourself when you may not have had a mentor or you may not have had an advocate?
So in Detroit, I moved to Texas in 2013. In Detroit, I felt that I did not have an advocate. But what I found was once I started speaking up for myself, because I let this woman just do whatever she wanted to do, and I never went above her. I never went to HR. And I took it to prayer. I wrote everything down succinctly. I took out emotion and just presented the facts. And at that point, people started listening and people were willing to help me. And that's when I found out I had a sponsor, right? And I don't know if that incident made him decide that he wanted to be my sponsor, because at that very time, what we were finding with reorgs, they needed someone to go and run a center to really close the center. And once I closed the center, I was then relocated to Texas. And my sponsor navigated that whole thing. But it started with prayer, it started with taking the emotion out and speaking only the facts. And then talking to people to find out who were your advocate or ally. And if someone, like I remember I said something to one manager and they went to defending her. Okay, thank you. That was the last time I talked to that person.
Right, right.
And so it was trial and error. And when I found my right people, that's who helped me.
Outstanding. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, comments? Anybody want to share how they're sharing their light? See, Tiffany has her hand raised.
Yes. So, good afternoon, everyone. DeWanda, I just want to say that you have done a wonderful job in being transparent and vulnerable to share your stories with all of us, because a lot of times we get the fluff and the rainbows and unicorns, and we really don't address what we need to do and how we feel in those positions. And you've been brave enough to share your stories on how something negatively influenced you, but you turned it into a positive. So thank you for that. And I just want to say that my takeaway from everything that you've said was not to focus on the end result, but focus on the behaviors to get you there. Because once you start behaving in a way that will get you to the goal will become more easier to attain. So thank you for that. Thank you for the inspiration. And I just look forward to learning more from you and working with you in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing those kind words.
You're welcome.
And Nicole?
It's me again. First and foremost, just to piggyback off what the young lady just shared, I think one of the greatest instruments or greatest weapons in our arsenal is communication and transparency. My faith tells me that, deliverance comes by the sharing of our testimonies. So I'm grateful for the testimonies that have come forth, for your sharing, just sharing the same sentiment, and for the organizers of this event. And of course, for Michelle Obama writing the book. But definitely thank you. I have a ton of questions, but I'm not going to occupy this opportunity, but just wanted to remind each and every one of us that somehow, some way, we might not see it today, but it's going to work out for our good. It is. If if we look at situations, it's all about our perspective, right? It's all about our lens. Oftentimes we can look at a situation with the glass being half empty, but if we look at it from the perspective that the glass is half full, which means that we shall not thirst, that we shall, our thirst shall be quenched, and the one that fills the glass, that there is a never-ending supply. So just remember to remain patient and focused and continue to press, because one thing that I do know is that nothing happens by chance nor happenstance. And there is an end result that is going to blow our minds, because I do believe that there are things that we can't see, there are things that we haven't heard, and there are things that has not entered the hearts of anyone or the mind of anyone that we know that will blow our minds, and we can only just know, trust, and believe that that will surely come. And it'll happen for you, just like it will happen for me. So thank you.
Thank you. Amen. And that's, look, you got me saying amen. But that's, I think, for me, the gist of the book, the light we carry, like as we shine our light, we're giving other people permission to shine their light, right? I think we strengthen each other. And so, as a minister, we hear, I hear all the time, right? You have to show up because somebody is waiting on you to show up. Someone is waiting for you to do what you're supposed to do so that they can do what they're supposed to do. So, I think it's just imperative that we continue to shine our light and do what we know to do because we're encouraging other people to do what they need to do.
Yeah, I kind of like to say a few words. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that I enjoyed about Michelle's book is that I think she challenged people's belief systems instead of, just going ahead and saying that this person is right or wrong. I saw how she gracefully would go out and say we can do this and we should challenge this belief system. And I know I'm going back several years, but it is something that I think is important because I know when I had joined the company many, many years ago, there weren't very many of us in the corporation, and I had a fourth level that was concerned. I don't know that I would, send a black person to the South, to Birmingham, Alabama, or to Atlanta. I'd be concerned for their safety. And you talk about moving afraid. Of course, me being straight out of Howard and HBCU, I was not like I wasn't putting up for that. So I'm like, why not? It's 1980, whatever it is. We have gone, beyond that. Now to go fast forward, that same manager, the next thing I knew, I was on a plane headed for Birmingham, Alabama, to deal with and became one of the people leading the University of Alabama healthcare system because I was working on AT&T's healthcare information system at the time. I was like, oh boy, what did I get myself into? But what I found by opening up and helping people understand that their viewpoint may not necessarily be the most relevant viewpoint for the time, they were able to say, okay, I can send somebody out there and they would be okay. And there was some black nurses at that University of Alabama. They took care of me. They took care of me. And then when there were times you talk about walking afraid, we went to some country club out there and I was the only black person in the place. And you could see, you could cut the tension when I walked in there. It's like, okay, I'm walking afraid. So you just kind of take a deep breath and you walk in there and say, I know what I'm supposed to be doing and I prepared myself. But there are times where we have to go high, but effectively challenge the status quo of different people's belief systems. And I encourage people to do that.
Mm. Yeah, that's hard. That's that hard conversation, right? That has to happen. And I think though when it does, we do find similarities, we do find allies, and then we are able to really move forward as a people. So thank you for
Yes.
sharing that. Anyone else want to share? As you were talking though, Joyce, I started working for Philip Morris, the cigarette company, before I started at the company here. And it was 1993 when I started at Philip Morris. And my area was the rural Jackson area in Michigan. And it was near like Ann Arbor, University of Michigan, Michigan State, the colleges up in that area. But I had like maybe 200 stores, and I went to one store, and it was probably about 4:30. It was getting dark, and the store owner was like, "Hey, don't go any north tonight. You might want to go home." Took my sweet self right on home. But later, found out it was KKK territory, and it was like you don't want to be out there at a certain time. So yes, people will look out for you, and it's just up to us to heed these warnings and continue to keep it moving. That's right, sundown. Well, I had an absolute wonderful time talking about the book, phenomenal conversation. You guys are the best. Can't wait to see what our next book is and who's going to lead us in that discussion.
And before we close, our the lead for the book club, Tamika Pete, Angela, I said her name, but let's just say a little prayer for her. She had a health situation and was not able to be here with us today. So we want to give our thoughts and prayers for her. She's done a wonderful job leading this book club, and she will be back for the next book reading. Thank you all for coming and sharing. And if you can put in the chat, is this time better for you? So we know if we should do it during the day or during the evening. This will help us plan future events.